And we're back. We're doing a 2 for Tuesday for everyone. Hang on, I got to put my glasses on. OJ has been knocking my shit off again. Talking about Madison Russo. Now, I can't see the poll, so someone's going to have to fill me in. Have you been affected by cancer? Whether it be yourself, a family member, or you're still battling it. Very rare you're going to find someone that says no. I have been affected by cancer. My mother passed away from renal cell carcinoma. I see a lot of these GoFundMes that are raping the public for money, and there's nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong at all. We have some very brave people backstage that are going to tell you their story of cancer. And it is just absolutely amazing what they have gone through and how they have overcome. Danielle said, you never think a doctor is going to come in and say the word cancer. No, not at all. Not at all. Nope. It's horrible. And this is going to be a very emotional show for me for a lot of reasons. This beautiful woman right here, this is my mama. That is her. That is her engagement picture to my father. She wasn't faking anything. It was her, again, engagement picture. Hang on one second. I thought I had, hang on. Yes, she was beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Classy. We had her 50th birthday party, and she complained a little bit about her side hurting and then her back. Nobody knew what was going on. There she is with my sons, and she never got to see him grow up. Oh, Lisa said you all could be twins. Well, no, not really. I look like my dad. Truth. And I act like him too. This is what my mother had. She complained. Well, she wasn't really a big complainer unless she was bitching at my dad, which happened all the time. It was always, damn you, Robert. And he took her to see the doctor because she couldn't pee. And the doctor, they took some blood, and he went to my father and said, you need to take her over to St. John's in Tulsa. And she was like, I don't want to go. Just take me to the chiropractor. It's just my back. Because she got her way all the time, especially with him. I mean, if he had a shit fit about something, she had the kitchen remodeled a few days later. The doctor said to him, and he was the primary physician, the town doctor, he said, this is going to be bad. They went over, and they said that this tumor probably started about the size of like your pinky fingernail. Well, she died 6 weeks later. And after this mood killer, we're going to talk about the people that fake it.
Today's topic is renal cell carcinoma. Renal cell carcinoma is the most commonly form of kidney cancer in adults, accounting for about 90 to 95% of all cases of kidney cancer. There are two kidneys in our body, located on each side of the backbone just above the waist. There are tiny tubes in the kidney called tubules that filter and clean the blood, aid in excreting waste products, and help make urine. Renal cell carcinoma originates in the lining of the tubules. This means that the condition occurs when cancer cells start growing uncontrollably in the lining of the tubules of the kidney. Renal cell carcinoma occurs mostly in older people, especially men, usually between the ages of 50 and 70. It often starts as a single mass of the tumor, but sometimes more than one tumor can grow in one or both kidneys. The condition is also referred to as renal cell cancer, is fast growing and often metastasized to the lungs and surrounding organs. Where cancer has not metastasized or eaten deep into the kidney, the 5-year survival rate is usually about 65 to 90%, but this is lowered considerably if otherwise. Causes. The exact cause of the condition is unknown, but doctors know that renal cell carcinoma occurs when something triggers a genetic mutation within the cells in the kidney. These cause normal cells in the kidney to become abnormal and multiply rapidly and continue to accumulate, forming a tumor or mass. Certain risk factors that may increase the risk of renal cell carcinoma are smoking, obesity, occasional exposure to certain chemicals such as lead, asbestos, and cadmium, long-term use of nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, a family history of the condition, dialysis treatment, hypertension. In women, a lump on the side, belly, or lower back, fever, persistent pain in the side, night sweats.
Hang on. Did I lose you guys? Dang it. 1 second. OJ? I'm not screwing with you today. We were having a touching moment.
Growing and often metastasized to the lungs and surrounding organs. Where cancer has not metastasized or eaten deep into the kidney, the 5-year survival rate is usually about 65 to 90%, but this is lowered considerably if otherwise. Causes. The exact cause of the condition is unknown, but doctors know that renal cell carcinoma occurs when something triggers a genetic mutation within the cells in the kidney. These cause normal cells in the kidney to become abnormal and multiply rapidly and continue to accumulate, forming a tumor or mass. Certain risk factors that may increase the risk of renal cell carcinoma are smoking, obesity, occasional exposure to certain chemicals such as lead, asbestos, and cadmium, long-term use of nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, a family history of the condition, dialysis treatment, hypertension, some inherited condition, especially von Hippel-Lindau disease, polycystic kidney disease. Symptoms. No symptoms may appear in the early stage, but as cancer progresses, symptoms may include fatigue, loss of appetite, blood in the urine, unexplained weight loss, vision problems, excessive hair growth in women, a lump on the side, belly, or lower back, fever, persistent pain in the side, night sweats, and anemia. The blood, aid in excreting waste products.
Yeah, see, she had pain in the side, in her side, and it was diagnosed as bursitis. So there was a lot going on. Now we get to the people that fake it. And it's disgusting. I don't know why anybody, anyone, would make up a disease. I don't get it. You don't want to invite karma into your life, period. but then they make money from it. So we take Madison Boudreaux, as she calls herself, but her name is Madison Russo. That was the name that she used on Instagram. And she gave everyone a plethora of diseases, and one would be pancreatic cancer. Mama Kay said, was she on drugs, a habit? I don't know. They're claiming mental illness. Well, it doesn't matter because she pled guilty, and now she's getting sentenced in October. Let's look at this. It's just so upsetting.
You would never know that I am sick. I still have hair. I can put on makeup to hide the exhaustion and the pain, and I carry myself fairly well at work and school. I want you to know that invisible illness affects so many people across the...
Invisible illness, my ass. Have you ever seen someone on death's door? Are you kidding me? I personally think that she was doing this to get her boyfriend back. Absolutely sick. When we get to the end of this, you're really going to be pissed. Because not only did she have a GoFundMe, she was also getting money from cancer societies. One in particular would be the Pancreatic Society. Pancreatic cancer is the silent killer, and by the time you find out you have it, you're about to die.
The globe. You could look at somebody from the outside and think they look healthy, but you don't see that inside their body is literally trying to destroy them. Experiencing these obstacles at such a young age has given me incredible drive, determination, and grit. Type 1 diabetes does not define me. Pancreatic cancer does not define me.
So now she has diabetes as well. She has diabetes, which, by the way, she does not, and she has pancreatic cancer. Here's a couple of people that we know of that have had pancreatic cancer. Patrick Swayze. He's a very wealthy human being, or, you know. Steve Jobs was one of the richest men in the world, and he couldn't beat it.
Leukemia does not define me. I am so...
Now she's got leukemia as well. Diabetes, pancreatic cancer, and leukemia. Are you kidding me? Angel P, thank you. Michael Landon. How many diseases can she get?
So much more than these awful diseases. And instead, it's just another chapter to my story. I will continue to thrive in school, thrive in my career, and thrive in my personal development.
That was just a portion of the many, many videos that 19-year-old Iowa woman, Maddie Russo, posted, talking about inspirational stories behind her cancer diagnosis that she received. Also, the treatment that she had to go through, rigorous stuff. She's looking to inspire folks, maybe tell her story to the world, and also maybe get $37,000 out of folks from a GoFundMe, because that's what she did. We'll see how true that is. As a matter of fact, she did media tours about this. She even went on Project Purple podcast to talk about what it is that she's dealing with. I want you guys to look at how unserious this whole thing is. Let's watch.
How would you define the term pancreatic cancer?
The first word that comes to mind is just ugly. it's an ugly disease. It's nasty. It's very just aggressive, and it wants to just kill everything. But at the same time, I think I would describe it as kind of like I don't know, like ever changing, because it changes you as a person. And I guess I'm kind of going into like the spiritual side of it a little bit, but like I wouldn't wish it on nobody. And yeah, it was kind of I was all over the place with that question, but.
Well, you should know. It's your life, Madison Russo. What is she talking about? I don't wish it on nobody. Terrible English. Did it eat your top lip? The hell is going on?
There's so many different things about it that just flat out sucks. But there's also some pretty beautiful things about it, I think, that I've been able to experience just at 19. So.
You guys convinced yet? By the way, Project Purple, really fast. It's an impact-driven organization with a vision of a world without pancreatic cancer. Their mission is to find a cure for pancreatic cancer and improve the lives of patients. Think about this, through support, hope, and compassion. That's who she decided to talk with as she's going through this entire thing. By the way, people started finding holes in her story, finding things about her medical equipment that she's posting about her treatment that she's posting about, which at one point she said she went through 50 or something bouts of chemo. The first clue I think many people maybe could have seen in portions from, again, this long video that she posted about her diagnosis, she decided to keep glancing off to the side, maybe reading from some notes. Let's watch that part again. See if you guys noticed this.
I got the call from my oncologist, and they found a mass on my pancreas, and I had stage 2 pancreatic cancer at just 19 years old. Scared is an understatement. I was terrified, and I definitely still am. But I'm really glad I went to my yearly health check, because it would have been so easy to just skip it and say I'm fine.
Not only that, you guys, graphic 3 really fast. We might come back up to this spot before, but this is one of the more disgusting parts about this whole thing. Investigators, after some folks pointed out her holes in her story, they did check it out. They said that Russo allegedly stole photos shared online by real cancer patients and presented them as her own.
Let's talk about that. She was taking real photos of people dying of cancer and using them as her own. What I'm waiting on is for her parents to speak out. But they aren't saying anything. Nothing.
Quick update here. Russo was charged with theft by means of deception, which is a Class C felony, just late last month. And according to the press release, she raised more than $37,000 from 439 donors on that GoFundMe last year, after she talked about having all of these issues and diagnoses. But in reality, it was all fake. And now she has a upcoming hearing to deal with her situation. Dan, again, maybe I'm the pessimist, but sometimes when I see some of these stories, and how do you question it? Because there's so many people that are affected by cancer. And many of the comments as I was going through this, they were like, there's not many people who haven't known a friend or a family member that has dealt with this, has either passed away from it or has beaten it. Either way, it's a devastating process that folks go through. But she chose this to be the one she scams folks about.
Yeah, there's a special place, and I'm not a huge believer in the afterlife, but sure, like this is definitely bad karma here. And I especially because I say this kind of facetiously as a joke, but like this is the backbone of the American healthcare system is GoFundMe.com, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we don't have healthcare in this country. We don't have any sort of social safety net. It's really like, and I don't mean to be too facetious at this point, but it's like here's my sob story, here's my GoFundMe, right? And like I'm at least glad that this sort of thing at least exists, where there is a space where people can give their, love and show their love and support for people they may not even know, $1 at a time. But
he's 100% right, because people are charitable. They are charitable. They'll say, okay, this person, needs this help. I'll throw in $1. I'll throw in $5. And then you see someone who is lying for attention or just because they want the money, and it makes people not want to be charitable. Now, it is not my damn business what kind of insurance anyone has. Whatever insurance they select at work, or if they qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, or they're in the union or not. But when people open up their wallets and they take money and they send it to someone else, particularly a stranger, and then they find out they were duped, then there's a problem, a huge problem. C-Star said this hurts people who really need help. Exactly.
You also see this sad side to it where people will scam people and take advantage of people's kindness. And people who know someone who has gone through cancer, passed or whatever, this is a really wild thing to try to pretend to have just for attention or money or clout or whatever. But this kind of just goes, to your pessimism, it will give some people pause when reading a GoFundMe campaign for people who really need that money, who are going to get way less than $30,000 because of their story and going viral, right? So it makes you feel sad about that. But the higher level thing is that GoFundMe should not be the social safety net for anyone. If you had a system where it's okay, it's bureaucratic, but you go to meetings and you see doctors and stuff like that, this kind of fraud would have happened. Because they would have been we see no cancer, football size, on your spine size, what is this? That's ridiculous. No, please, you're wasting our time. And that would have been a little bit of administrative waste, but that would have been having an actual social safety net and a healthcare system in this country would have easily prevented this kind of mess.
That's the thing. And you brought the system in, and I see that angle, because in a system like this where the point is to step on the next person to get something else, she's thinking, well, this is just the American way. I know it's probably subconscious, but I can go through this entire process. It's a lot of work. You should have seen the details she went through trying to convince folks of this. Questions were asked. She's posted on TikTok a lot. She showed her back with a big bandage on it. She explained why she still has hair. And in this process, in that process, it was very, very elaborate, although still not very well done. But
for our medical professionals in here, how many rounds of radiation and chemo can a patient go through without losing their hair? How many? Because according to her, she said this is only a chemo week, not a radiation week. Now, mind you, someone took a picture of her eating a cheeseburger, supposedly after radiation, to which she drove herself to and drove back. When my mother had radiation, they measured every part of her body and basically tattooed her and hit it right in that tumor. And well, from there it went downhill, but that was in the year 2000. These people piss me off to no end. She did this for attention. And I'm telling you something right. I'm telling you right now, it has to do with the boyfriend.
She was all in for $37,000. Had a medical equipment in her apartment. All the things that she was posting about being in a hospital room was actually set up in her place. She had all this stuff. The 2023 Kia or something like that, like a brand new car, right? Again, I mean, not an extravagant car or anything, but the idea is she's trying to get this in, and she thinks this is the way this is supposed to work, right? I mean, I have a perfect outlet to make some money. This is the way you make money, right? But folks who expect to get some kind of social safety net for the things that we all pay into, they're the ones that are bilking the system. They're the ones who are milking off the teat of America and not putting anything in. This is how you end up with folks like this. And I didn't want that to be the focus of this, but that is a part about it. And you have bad people like that to take advantage of a system that would allow that, or at least sets us up for that.
Disgusting. Who would even think to make it up? Okay, I'll give you this. You call in at, let's say, 7:30 in the morning, and you're like, oh, I've got a sore throat. I don't want to get anyone sick. It could be strep. That's one thing. But when you convince people that you are on your last leg and you're about to die, you're damn sick. And I don't mean in that way. All right, she got called to the carpet. You know why? Because the American Pancreatic Society looked through her pictures and said there's something. Well, for one, she's still alive. And then they said things on her chest and nose aren't placed right.
Madison Russo pleaded guilty this afternoon to theft in the first degree in a Scott County courtroom. That is the top story at 6. Russo is a Bettendorf woman accused of stealing more than $30,000 from over 400 donors after falsely claiming she had cancer. Her story gained attention through the National Pancreatic Cancer Foundation. Russo pleaded not guilty back in January, but agreed to change her plea this week to guilty. Her sentencing date has not yet been set.
Well, her sentencing date is actually in October, and I want to stream it live. Goodness. Who the hell would do this? Who would do this? Who would even make up a disease? We have seen people with cancer and they waste away. She pled not guilty, even though she knew there wasn't a damn thing wrong with her. If you look at this, Alex Trebek, he died very fast from pancreatic cancer.
This week, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Now, normally, the prognosis for this is not very encouraging, but I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to keep working, and with the love and support of my family and friends, and with the help of your prayers also, I plan to beat the low survival rate statistics for this disease.
Alex Trebek just put it very nicely there. I'm going to try to be a bit more real. Pancreatic cancer is a known killer to most of us. Killed my mom, who was 78 years old. It killed Chris Houston, one of my really good friends and assignment manager right here in the. He was in his early 40s. There are survivors, though, like Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but it's a really short list of survivors. Joining me to bring a little context to this conversation is Dr. Ben Weinberg. He's originally from Bethesda. He's a medical oncologist with MedStar, Georgetown University Hospital. Doc, thanks for joining us. Why is pancreatic cancer, after all this time, all these years, still so deadly?
So one of the reasons is we don't have a good screening test for pancreatic cancer like we do with colonoscopies for colon cancer, for example. It's often found too late beyond the stage where it can be cured. In 2019, the only way we know to cure pancreatic cancer is to surgically remove the cancer all at one piece and not leave any trace behind. And unfortunately, very few patients even have the opportunity to undergo such a surgery because the cancer's already spread by the time they're diagnosed.
Are there any likely candidates? People or a group of people or a sex, whatever that we can point to, so that perhaps we can start some early screening.
Mm-hmm. So there definitely are groups we think that are at high risk for developing pancreatic cancer. One of the risks is people who have chronic pancreatitis, so inflammation of the pancreas that occurs over many, many years. The biggest risk, though, is in patients who have a family history of pancreatic cancer or similar cancers such as breast and ovarian cancer. There are certain cancer syndromes that we know actually increase the risk of pancreas cancer many fold. And those patients actually have specific screening recommendations where they should undergo fairly invasive screening relatively early on in life.
Okay, why is it that most of the cases we hear about, it's already advanced, stage 4?
Oftentimes, there are not many symptoms before the cancer spreads outside the pancreas. There are a few patients who present with painless jaundice, where cancer in the head of the pancreas can cause that symptom before it spreads elsewhere. But many patients present with sort of vague, nonspecific symptoms, abdominal pain, what we call early satiety, feeling full after a meal more quickly than you otherwise normally would, and sort of vague, sort of heartburn type symptoms. All those symptoms are often not pancreas cancer, something completely else. So
the last doctor's office I worked at, one of my favorite patients came in, and he came in for heartburn. Well, through blood work and a PET scan, found out he had pancreatic cancer. And normally when you find out about it, it's already far gone. So when he came in a few days later, I heard him talking to the doctor, and he said, "Are you scared to die?" Now imagine having a doctor say that to you. Are you scared to die? And this chick, this bitch, decided to economize people's emotions and make up a damn disease on her own body.
So for those reasons, oftentimes people present later, and by that point, the cancer's already spread outside the pancreas.
Yeah, why is it those that do survive, just lucky, or?
So there's, I think, a couple groups. So
what's the percentage there?
So taking all comers with pancreatic cancer, the 5-year survival rate remains a dismal 9%, meaning that out of 100 people, 91 are dead within 5 years from this disease. Now, as dismal as that sound, it used to be, 2-3% not that long ago. So we are making some small improvements, but clearly there's a long way to go. For Alex Trebek, someone who's diagnosed with metastatic stage 4 pancreatic cancer, that number drops to about 2.7%, meaning that almost all patients are dead within 5 years. Now, the people who are found very early, often incidentally, probably like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was because she was being screened for other cancer she had, if you can find it very early before even symptoms develop, those patients are often the ones that are in that 9% who can get the surgery. And now what we recommend is fairly intensive chemotherapy, either before or after the surgery, to kill what we think are microscopic metastatic cells that are probably already there by the time we can actually see something big enough to light up on a CT scan.
As a survivor of cancer, okay, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, why don't we just screen everybody then?
So that's a very good question. So even if we can see a pancreatic mass on a scan, it can still be hard to get the diagnosis, because the main way to do it is an endoscopic ultrasound, sort of like a colonoscopy, but they go through the mouth into the stomach with a camera.
I can answer that. You can screen for every part of your body. Who's going to go to the doctor all the time? They don't want to. They don't want to. They're like, it's time for your mammogram. I'll do it next year. Come on.
And then an ultrasound probe on the end, and they look around through the stomach wall and actually try to find the mass in the pancreas and stick a small needle into it. Even if you can see it on a scan, it's sometimes I have patients who've had many of these procedures and still can't get a tissue diagnosis. We can't get cells under a microscope to show there's a cancer there. So you imagine if you start screening large swaths of the population, that's a very invasive test, and that's the best test we have. What I think is imperative is to develop better screening tests. So those high-risk populations with a strong family history, those populations with new onset diabetes after age 50, we think there's a good subset of that population that could actually end up developing pancreatic cancer. And then we need better screening tests. So there's a lot of blood-based tests that are in development that can then narrow that down to a group that really should undergo that fairly invasive
Here's my exit question. The cost, is that a problem here? Is that why we're not doing more screening? Because the cost, and who's going to pay?
Right. Cost of screening is always an issue regardless of the screening test. And for a screening test to be effective, it really has to find early stage disease that could be surgically cured and lead to long-term survival. And pancreas cancer, that's a tough hill to climb.
Right. Tucker, thank you very much. Ben Weinberg with
horrible, horrible. It is a horrible, horrible disease. So when someone says, well, I just had cancer, or I was just diagnosed with cancer, and there's different types. Someone says, I have liver cancer. Well, there's different types of it. Like I shared with you, there's kidney cancer, and then there's renal cell carcinoma. It goes into the tubules. It is just horrible. And these people that fake it, I don't understand why they would even think that is cute. I don't get it. I just don't understand it. Let's look at this.
St. Ambrose student remains out on bond tonight after allegedly scamming donors out of thousands. Maddie Russo allegedly claimed all the while that she had cancer. And tonight, News 8's Charles Hart reports how one social work expert says this type of fraud is growing.
Everyone is susceptible to some type of scam out there.
Being on the lookout.
We need to be just really vigilant
for potential online scams.
Scams are increasingly sophisticated. They are really difficult to fact check.
Dr. Marty DeLima specializes in financial victimization by scams and fraud at the University of Minnesota. She also studies what makes us susceptible to them.
The prevalence of charity fraud has gone up a little bit in recent years.
And we spoke with her about Maddie Russo, a Bettendorf teen who was arrested for deception after she claimed to have cancer to steal from people across the country.
Building an early career as a fraud and scam artist is probably not the smartest career choice for this young woman.
Statistics show charitable organizations lose 5% of their revenue each year to fraud.
This woman had all those external verifications.
After allegedly scamming more than 400 donors out of nearly $38,000.
I would say that the majority of fraud perpetrators are doing it for financial gain.
Research on fraud victims shows shame and embarrassment are the main experiences people have.
The other thing I would say is that people might feel this sense of anonymity and protection when they post false things about themselves on the internet. They aren't meeting these potential donors face to face. They aren't door knocking. It's just information on the internet that's put out into the world. When in doubt, it's probably better to give to the society or the organization or the nonprofit that treats that rare disease, or maybe it's not a rare disease.
Luckily for the victims of the alleged scam, their money is being returned.
I think there's probably a more tangled web behind this case.
For now, Charles Hart, WQAD News 8.
Sick. Disgusting. Who the hell would make this up? If you've been through it or you've seen someone go through it, you know it is not an easy road for them. I remember when my mother was passing away, my dad had to go down to a pharmacy that they grind up the medicine. Anyway. And the hospice nurse, showed my sister and I how to put it on her. She gave us gloves and we had to rub it on her stomach. A compounding pharmacy, I'm sorry. And she's like, you can't just use your hand because it'll get in your system. And it was just horrible, but it would give her some relief. And it's just not something that you ever want to do, for someone you love so much. Speaking of someone I love so much, our friend Mama Kay is backstage, and she currently is battling cancer. Let's have a round of applause for our friend Mama Kay.
I would say I'm on the other side of it, though, really, I think, even though
Welcome, Mama Kay. I am so glad you're up on panel. It's about time. My goodness, you've been around the channel for a long time.
I have, and if you'll remember, I was up on panel when we did the Terrace Strozier case.
Yes.
And that was last time. But anyway, I was just reading the chat, and I don't believe there's anybody who shouldn't be on panel because everybody has either had cancer, had, going through it, or knows somebody who's going through it, or has, been affected in another way. So I just want to say I don't deserve no round of applause. I really feel like I have just like slid into home, without having, to do a lot of things, even though I had to have a double mastectomy. So what? I'm alive.
Well, I mean, what you went through was crazy, and you didn't even tell me what was going on. I mean, I knew something was off, and I messaged you, and then you told me that you had a double mastectomy, and then you had to have a hysterectomy. What did you think when they told you all of that?
Wow. So it feels like you're falling into space. Like you're like, oh my gosh, what you're gonna meet Jesus real soon, whether you want to or not. So, but anyway, I think, she just had to be sick in the head to do it. What makes me most pissed off about it is to say not guilty to begin with. That was really, I think, what ticked me off the most, but I don't know. See, look, and you got Sharon right now. She's got cancer, lymphoma. And I mean, look, everybody is just going through it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, do you?
And you know what? I don't see any GoFundMe's.
No.
Not a single member from, I don't know when have I ever seen and not saying that that's a bad thing. If anybody needs it, then by all means do it. But I've never seen anyone in this chat, be like, hey, I need help. And if they did, then we would do it. But I don't see a lot of people running around trying to showcase their cancer. Can I put it like that? But Brooks, you're very intuitive. You knew there was something wrong with me, so.
We've been friends for a long time, even though we've never met in person. Do you feel comfortable sharing with everybody how you came across your diagnosis and what the doctors advise? And if you don't feel comfortable, then don't do it.
No, that's fine. I do feel comfortable because really and truly, there's probably, I don't care if more ladies are in here. If the guys are in here, then tell your ladies. Because I did not have any lumps or any itching or no symptoms whatsoever. And so here's the deal. Since I was young, they've been doing mammograms because I have granules on my right side that they had graded. And at a certain point, if they got, larger, whatever, they were going to remove them. So after years, I'm telling y'all, of going in every year or once every 6 months to get a mammogram, I'm thinking it's nothing, like always. And they call me and they tell me, we need you to come in for an ultrasound. There was something on your mammogram. And I said, well, what was it? And they said, well, it's called architectural distortion. And so, like, there was just an invasion of the breast. It wasn't like a growth of its own. I don't know if that makes any sense. I had ductal carcinoma and lobular carcinoma. Whether it had traveled from lobular or ductal, we don't know which one came first, kind of like chicken or the egg. But it had also traveled to connective tissue. It was, it had metastasize, I guess is the word for it. And so I was stage 2, grade 3, and I had to have a double mastectomy. Of course, there was all the rigmarole before that happened of you know, we got to do an onco test. I'm pretty sure if you guys in here, if any, most of the ladies, if you've ever had breast cancer, you know that they do an onco test in the breast cancer. And
now, hang on. What is an onco test?
It onco means what, cancer, right? So the onco score, I don't understand what that. I would actually have to go and look that back up. But it just, all I really understand of it, Brooks, and what they told me is, you know, if you anything above a 25, you will absolutely benefit from the chemo, and you absolutely will have chemo. Anything below a 25, and it doesn't matter if it's a 24.9, you will not have chemo. And I only scored a 19. So I don't, you know, I did not have to have chemo, but I was going to have the radiation. So I went in lumpectomy. So I went in for the radiation, and they are, like you know, were saying earlier, you know, they do tattoo you. They hadn't tattooed me at that point in the appointment. I had met with the radiologist who was going to do the radiation, and that was another appointment. And I came in, and they got me all up on the bed, and they measured, and they took pictures of literally how my hands were placed, and you know how high everything was, whatever, the way your feet are. And then he comes out from, you know, behind his wall, from his little office with his window. And he comes in and he says, I cannot do radiation because that is a direct hit on your heart where it, you know, where it has spread. So he said, you have to have a double mastectomy. And I mean, he was just that clear cut about it. I had no warning. There was no forewarning. I found out just like you did right now. And so I was like, oh my God.
Doctors have a different way of talking to patients as opposed to nurses. Because especially the doctor that spoke to us about my mother, he was just very matter of fact.
Yes, they're very clinical. So anyway, you saw the pictures. I sent you the pictures of the double mastectomy. Guys, I went to a local doctor. I thought I was going to be saving myself some time. And went to a local plastic surgeon. And Brooks, I don't care. You can post those pictures, y'all. She mangled me. It was horrible. And on one side, the spacers she put in after about 6 months were eroding on the right side of my breast, through the right side of my breast. I didn't have breast, but it was, you know, skin. They had put in cadaver skin. And or my own skin, but anyway, that's another process. So anyway, it was horrible. I had to go to another doctor. He had to take out these spacers and go inside and clean me out completely and put in new spacers. And then we went through all the going in for the, you know, the feels, all the, you know, all the reconstruction stuff all over again. So I'm 2 years out. I should really only be 1 year out. I mean, my mastectomy shouldn't have taken a whole other year, but I should have never had to have it done twice. But I'm lucky like that. Brooks, you know that. So anyways, I do. I feel like I slid into home because, you know, now, you know, I was having to take the tamoxifen, and tamoxifen, you ladies know, I couldn't finish a sentence. I mean, like, you would start a sentence and not even know what the hell the end of it was going to be. That medicine is so horrible with the memory and the brain fog. No, I'm not brave. I had to do what I had to do. And so, and all of you do too. And you would. And I don't think anybody's brave for it. I think that girl's crazy. And I think to myself, maybe she's just never been affected by cancer. You know, Brooks, your mom died from it. I know you've had other relatives and had to have had, because my grandparents, my grandma did, my mom did, you know.
Well, I mean, with all the preservatives and shit in our food, of course, everyone's going to get it somewhere. Hell, we're probably born with cancer cells.
Right. And I just wonder, what the hell has she never been, affected? She couldn't have been. And if she was, she's probably, I don't know. Good Lord, who knows? I mean, I'm not making any excuses for her. I'm just saying, what could have created that type of monster? I'd like to know.
That's what I wonder. And the only thing that I can come back with her is the boyfriend. She was trying.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier.
Like she wanted him to be by her bedside. But he was already off to another piece of ass. He didn't care.
Wow. Oh, wow. So she was like, who's the girl that went missing in the ditch saying that the redheaded clown guy took her and she ate Cheez-Its?
Yep.
I mean, they have to have the same. Yeah. To try to get their men back. That's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts.
Now, what is your future prognosis? What are the doctors saying?
Okay, so when I had the hysterectomy, and that was a complete hysterectomy, both my ovaries as well, I didn't have to take the tamoxifen for 7 years. I have to take the letrozole for 5 years. So I get to take the slow acting, your hair falls out, actually slow crap, which is just a hormone therapy. I mean, but I don't have no hormones anyway, It's just, anyway, it's just part of it. It's anybody who's ever been through breast cancer and survived, they're going to have, it's real recent, they're going to have to do these sort of things. Like when my grandma had breast cancer and all that, and mastectomy, they didn't have the aftercare medicine like letrozole and tamoxifen. I don't believe I ever heard of that when I was, little. That's kind of like a new thing in the last maybe 10 or 15 years that they've been doing. Well, breast cancer that I know of. But yeah, as far as, reaching out to people, I would have never thought that you had done that. And
hang
does
on.
she have any kind of job?
Does Madison have a job?
Yeah. Did she have any sort of...
It seems that she's going to have a job in jail when they sentence her. Let me show you something real quick.
Okay.
Because they're buckling down on this stuff because there's just no sympathy, thank goodness, for this mental illness and what these crazy people are doing. This scammed hundreds with a fake cancer. She got a 5-year sentence.
A woman who faked cancer for 7 years and collected more than $100,000 in donations is serving time now in prison. Amanda Riley scammed more than 300 family members, friends, and strangers into giving her money. A new podcast unravels her web of lies. News Nation's Alex Capriello has been following this story for us. Alex, how much time is she serving now?
Yeah, Amanda Riley will be forced to spend the next 5 years in prison. This is all due to wire fraud charges. She's convicted of actually swindling hundreds of people into contributing to this bogus campaign, all the while raking in their money, more than 100.
Yeah, look at that. She even cut her own hair off to look like she was sick.
That is sick. That is sick. It's just a different kind of sick.
But, OJ, quit. But a short haircut is not the same as chemo.
No, your hair falls out, And I thank God I didn't have to have that. See, people say, oh, I'm so tough and so brave. No way, y'all. You guys, I snuck into home. For real. God kept me the whole way. Check for that double
Like
mastectomy.
during the it's like during the pandemic, you had all those people saying, "Oh, I had a COVID test and it looks like I have it," but they don't. What is
Right.
wrong with these women? Men don't fake diseases; women do.
They do. And the ones that, fake like their kids are sick. Maybe it's not, something of the same thing, right? And that what isn't that the same thing? And that why they call it by proxy? Munchausen by proxy?
Exactly. It's like they put their own Munchausen's on themselves, but there's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
It's all to get attention. And I'm sorry, but I blame a lot of it on, well, them, number one, and number two, social media.
Oh yeah, because nobody checks it. Nobody, they just give. I don't have the money to do that, so I'd have to check it first. I'd have to really check you out,
$100,000 of worth. This is all according to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Northern California, which says Riley convinced 349 different organizations and people into believing this story, that she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. That's a type of cancer. Riley went to great lengths to maintain this deception for 7 years. Went so far as to shave her head, falsify medical records, forge doctor signatures, and even sue one person who suggested that she was faking it. It wasn't until the IRS began investigating in 2019 that this lie was ultimately uncovered. After her 5 years in prison, she'll have to have another 3 years of supervision. And then as for that $105,000 that she took from these unsuspecting people, she'll be forced to pay that back as well.
So, Alex, has she shown any remorse since pleading guilty in this case?
Yeah, it really appears that she has. I've looked through written records of the 3 years of court battles that she's had. Her lawyer saying to the judge that she recognizes that this is a major offense, that she hurt a lot of people along the way, and that she's extremely remorseful about it. And then also family members also contributing to the conversation here. Clearly, she's expressed remorse to her family. Her brother saying to the judge in a written record, after you've been living with a big lie on your chest for several years, I can imagine that it just becomes a part of your identity. Kelly?
All right. Well, it's nice to see some forgiveness there. Alex Capriello, thank you. And joining us now is criminal defense attorney Janet Johnson. Janet, are you there? There we are.
I'm here.
Hey, Janet, great to have you. So do you think wire fraud charges and a 5-year sentence fits the crime in this case?
Well, because it's a federal case, they had to have some nexus to interstate travel or commerce. So the wire fraud is people either used a credit card or PayPal or mailed checks. So to get it into federal court, that is the appropriate charge. She was looking at 20 years, and ultimately her defense attorney asked the court for 5. I think for $100,000, that's not a low amount of time. That's actually pretty high, because we see millions and millions of dollars in restitution in federal court. It was the nature of the lie that I think got her the 5 years, because obviously lying about having cancer when there are people who are affected and tragedy, it was shameless. Now, we heard earlier, she accepted responsibility, she was remorseful. She really had to do that, because in federal court, in order to get a...
Now let's get something straight. Does it really matter if someone's remorseful after they got caught?
I don't think so. They're only going to be sorry if they got caught.
Thank you. So, so we're supposed to say, oh, well, take it easy on her because she bilked the public, she ruined the public's trust, and she's remorseful. Mama Kay, you have some background noise.
I do. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
What is it?
Oh, it's okay.
Is it an echo?
No, there's no echo. I just saw a couple people saying that the sound was loud and they could hear something.
Huh, okay. Is it any better?
Oh, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Lower sentence.
I can just
You
come
have to
out
come in and
actually
say,
and
I am remorseful. I accept responsibility. So that's probably part of what got her to the 5 years. Plus, she'll have to pay back the money. So that's part of the plan.
Right. And it was over a 7-year period, as pointed out earlier in the show. So I think that is important context. I appreciate that.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television.
Disgusting. Who in the hell would make this up? Take money from people and then say, but I'm remorseful.
Brooks, I am going to jump down and let somebody else come up because I feel like you guys, there's so many other stories that really do matter. And I have some background noise. I don't know where it's coming from. But anyway, I'm going to be listening. And so I love you guys so much. But I love you so much, Brooks. Call me later
I
when you get
love
a
you
chance.
too, Mama Kay. No, you're fine. I think it's fine. If other people can't hear that, they need to adjust their volume.
Well, I am going to let somebody else come up because, like I said, I want to hear somebody else's story. Not, I know mine. So I will talk to you later, guys.
All right,
Bye-bye.
love you, Mama Kay. Oh, hang on one second. This is just absolutely disgusting to me that anyone would even think to do this. And the link is posted. If you want to come up and tell your story, whatever it is, please come up.
So you've had some health issues?
Yes, I've had some health issues in the past.
What happened? What were your health issues?
I had precancerous cells, cervical. When we,
And this twat, I don't know why on earth. She's like, oh, I had precancerous cells. We're born with them. They love that shit. Oh, like they call it, like dysplasia. And they're like, well, and then I had to have a hysterectomy. And so now I have cancer. No, precancerous cells are not the same thing. Let's welcome our friend Jwes. Hello, Jwes.
Hey, Brooks, how are you?
Oh, pretty good, hon. How are you?
I'm okay. Pretty good. I had another fall last night. That's why I was up so early.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What did you think about Mama Kay and everything she's been through? I mean, she's had
It's horrible
surgeries, and then you have Madison, who got almost $40,000 in donations for what? Nothing wrong with her.
It pisses me off to no end. I had cancer on my cervix when I was 18, and they froze all the cells off. In 2020, I was putting on my bathing suit and bent over to pull the bottoms up, and something moved in my stomach. And when I stood up, I looked 3 months pregnant. And I hurt and hurt. So my husband took me to the ER, and they, of course, wouldn't let him come back there with me. Made me sit out in the hallway and told me that they thought I had appendicitis. Well, they gave me all the fluids and stuff to drink to go have a test done. And I hear a nurse say, Blue's results are back, but the doctor wants to take her into a room by herself. So I got super nervous about that. And I wanted my husband to come back or my mom, and they would not allow it. He said, well, the good news is you don't have appendicitis. But the bad news is we found a huge tumor. I was terrified in there all alone by myself hearing this news. But luckily, I had a very good doctor in the ER who knew one of the best oncologists in Greenville. And he got me on his list, and he removed the tumor on Monday, and it had already started to bust and leak. But they got it all, and thank the Lord they said no chemo was required. But I too have to take the tamoxifen or raloxifene for 5 years, just hopefully to not get breast cancer, to prevent it. But
how much do you take every day, if you don't mind me asking?
I only have to take it once a day. Hold on, and I'll look and see.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. No.
I have to do that for 5 years. And then, you know, they didn't even, I just found out this weekend, I was looking on my chart. And they didn't even take my uterus out. They just removed my ovaries after I've already had the cancerous cells on my uterus. I don't understand that. I wonder why they didn't just give me a complete hysterectomy.
Well, I had to have a hysterectomy when I was 27, and they took out my fallopian tubes. They found tumors in my uterus, which we already knew that. One ovary, but they left one. And I'm like, just take it all out. You think I'm going to harvest eggs? And then in 2014, I was doubled over, couldn't walk, drove myself to the hospital, and was in the hospital for almost a week, having it removed.
60 milligram pill, 60 milligram raloxifene every day for 5 years.
I tell you what, I think when people are done having babies, take it all out. Just take the plumbing, because all it does is bleed and get cancer.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. If you know you're not going to have any more children, you've had problems with your female parts, after you've had your children, just sign the paper and have it done. At the time, I was married to my ex, and after I had my last baby, who was pretty big, he signed the papers for him to get fixed and not me, because he says he thought that once you had a hysterectomy that women completely change and all this, but of course they do. They have, I mean, that's a big deal to women to have those parts removed, but sometimes it's got to be done.
Oh, when they explained it to me, I had zero problem. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, so I can wear white in the summer? I've got no problem with that.
Have you hit the sweat to death part?
Oh, yeah. That's been going on for years.
Whew, mine too, for 12 years almost. But I can't take a hormone because I'm on the cancer medicine, preventative. So, anyways, that's my story. Well, thank you. Yes, that doctor was a very good doctor. He really is. And but when he sews you up, it's like a jagged edge. He messed my belly up. And I mean, they had actually intended on doing it like arthroscopic surgery or whatever. Just going in 3 little cut places and taking it out. Well, when they did that, they got in there and saw how big it was. So they cut me from belly button down. And it's ugly, and I won't wear a bathing 2-piece no more because of it.
Bree said, hello again. My husband's mama passed when he was 11 from I can't get my glasses. Ovarian cancer. I've been debating getting a hysterectomy. I struggle with endometriosis and fibroids. I'm over it. Get it.
My suggestion is get it.
Yeah, just get it.
Get a full hysterectomy.
Okay.
That would be my
said, Brooks, Nana's kids are live now. Well, I'm doing a show right now too, Wendy, and we have cancer survivors on here. I don't know why people come in and tell me when someone else is live. I don't get it. I donated to the funeral. I mean, is there something else I'm supposed to do? It's horrible what happened to her. Horrible. I mean, horrible.
And White Boy's an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Right. You did your part.
I mean, I sent money to the Cash App for her burial. So nobody told me they were going to be live.
I know there's been several of us from this community that have gone and left our heartfelt comments and our apologies and such as that. And as YouTubers, that's all we can do. Unless you know her personally and live near her or something.
It's a horrible situation. And I mean, I didn't know that the kids were going live. You know, I mean, if you guys would rather watch that, you know, then go watch it.
I watch it, yeah.
I just think it's very disrespectful when cancer survivors are talking about their journey and people come in and say, did you know that Nana's kids are live? That's crazy. That's so uncalled for. No one is disrespecting Myra here, but come on. That is just crazy. Jwes is talking about how she almost died. All right, let's get back to this, Jwes. I apologize, hon.
You're okay.
Let me try that again.
So you had really cancer?
At that time, we think it was just the pre-cancer at that point. But then about 4 years later, I ended up, how do I even go about that? I'm sorry.
This bitch. Oh, it was pre-cancer. Well, we all have pre-cancer. We're born with it. That's our cells that overdevelop.
Several years later, it was told to me that the cells had developed into cancer. And so we had to do more procedures and treatment that time. And at that time, I did lose my hair, and it was a very scary, emotional time in my life.
But you didn't lose your hair, you shaved your head.
Well, I shaved my head so I wouldn't have the big clumps of hair falling out.
Well, you said you lost your hair, but you didn't. You shaved your head.
She shaved her head.
She's full of
attention.
She is full of it.
Yeah.
It pisses me off really bad. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
My daddy also died from cancer.
I know, baby. I'm so sorry. I
We-
really
We knew that he had had cancer and went through chemo and all that and beat it. But about 6 months before he passed away, he had went back to his cancer doctor. He this was in October, and he wanted all of us to have a really good Christmas together. So he didn't tell anybody, and we didn't even know he had it until the death certificate came back. He died in March.
Oh, baby, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. He was sick, and I didn't like seeing him struggle. He's better off. I miss him, but he's better off.
I know.
In the beginning, I shaved my head to where my hair was very short. Yes.
And we asked you about this morning, and you put our producer on the phone with a nurse from the Christus Trinity Mother Francis Hospital in your hometown, right?
Yes.
Sharon Hodges,
Yes.
who's a nurse there. Was she involved in your treatment?
Yes. I know. I knew her from having visits there.
So when you had your surgery and your chemo and your radiation, she treated you?
Well, she was one of the nurses there.
And so the producer talked to her, and she told the producer that you went through cancer treatments, several months of chemo in 2012, and confirmed ovarian cancer. We asked for Sharon's work email so we can also get an email confirmation, and she wouldn't do that. She said she was worried that she would get in trouble.
I called, and they had told me I needed to sign, records release and things. So I don't know if.
Well, we had one more question for her. So
Because she's lying. Precancerous cells are totally different than full-blown cancer.
Absolutely.
People are damn crazy. And a tumor is different than cancer. You can have a tumor and it not be cancerous.
Yeah, mine was, but you can have one and then be benign.
Oh, hell yeah, there's benign tumors all the time.
Matter of fact, I had just went to see the gynecologist about 6 months before this, and she told me that I had a small cyst on my ovary. Don't worry about it. It'll pop.
Yeah, and you can have cysts. There's a lot of stuff that people can have that grow inside of them, and you wouldn't even know. There's a fibroid tumor, and it's actually, for a woman, not a man, it's a undeveloped baby. It'll have teeth and hair and everything.
I didn't know that.
So we called back to that hospital and asked for Sharon Hodges.
Okay.
And they said there's no Sharon Hodges that works there. Who is Jenny?
It's her best friend. One of my friends.
I have to apologize. Not fibroid. It is a dermatoid cyst, is what I have heard.
Oh, okay.
Because when you called Sharon Hodges on your cell phone, the name Jenny came up in the screen.
No, well, yeah, because I know Sharon. That's why I was telling the producer.
But you have Sharon in your cell phone under Jenny?
No. I called Jenny's phone. I said, is this Sharon? She said, no, she said, this is Jenny, Carrie. I was like, oh, I need to talk to Sharon.
Why would Sharon be with Jenny?
Because we were all friends. Does that not make sense?
Not at all.
So all of you and your cancer doctors hang out together with your precancerous cells? Come on.
She could have had those taken off easily.
Yeah, they just burn them out. People
They
get them.
burned mine out at 18. They froze them.
Gee,
It was no big deal.
Angel said, busted. Yeah.
Yep.
What an idiot. If you're going to go on Dr. Phil, be prepared.
Okay.
The truth is, there's no Sharon Hodges that works at that hospital. She doesn't exist. The hospital has no reason to lie about that.
But neither do I. I did have to go through treatment. I did have to go through chemo and radiation.
So when you put our producer on the phone this morning speaking to Sharon Hodges, they were actually speaking to Jenny.
No, that still wasn't Jenny.
Who was it?
Her name is Sharon.
What was she doing at Jenny's house?
They are neighbors now. I know it seems so coincidental.
I'm just hoping you'll clear it.
Did you see her husband's face when he was like, what? So we went from precancerous cells to giving a phone number to Jenny, who's the neighbor.
Or is it Sharon?
Or Sharon. Yeah, exactly. Look at this one. Alyssa Jackson. Ridiculous. And here we have another husband who thinks his wife is about to die. Could you imagine? You there, Jules?
I'm sitting here with my mouth open. I just can't believe this woman.
Yeah.
That's
Raking
awful.
it in, and they have these crazy cancer benefits and everything. Shave their head. This chick was caught outside smoking. Who the hell would be outside smoking when you've been given a death sentence?
My daddy. He'd take his oxygen off and go outside in the garage and smoke a cigarette and then go back in and put it on. Hard-headed.
Was he at a cancer benefit for himself, raking in money?
No, but I did hold a benefit. I got together a benefit for him. I don't know. He might have walked outside and smoked.
We're about to have a benefit for OJ, so please.
Oh, did OJ get his prize?
His surprise?
Yeah. I mailed him something.
Well, I have not checked the mail today.
I mailed you something too. Ha ha.
I'll go see. True story. When my mom was diagnosed with renal cell carcinoma, she was told by the oncologist and by our general physician, you can eat whatever you want, smoke whatever you want, drink whatever you want, because you might be here at Thanksgiving, you may not, but this is going to kill you. But just that diagnosis was like,